Well, we're going to turn to a different kind of World Championship now. Very few motor races this season have had quite as many points of interest as Sunday's Grand Prix of Europe. It's the last stop before the controversial planned Grand Prix in South Africa. It marks the British debut of an exciting new team and the return of a former world champion. We welcome back John Watson and say goodbye to Renault. But more than anything, it's the race where the man they call the Professor should at last win the World Championship for France.
And as Alain Prost approaches the last corner, the McLaren mechanics are already ready to invade the course, and they do so to greet him home for the 8th consecutive McLaren win. Alain Prost wins the Austrian Grand Prix. He will stop immediately, I think. But here is the leader, here is the winner, Alain Prost in the Marlboro McLaren with the tag engine for the 2nd year in succession, wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Alain Prost wins the Italian Grand Prix.
A season in which Prost has produced 5 wins and 2 second places has given him a lead of 16 points in the championship. If he can stretch that lead by 2 more, then the title is his. Italian Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari is the only man who can catch him. He knows it's a virtually impossible task, and Prost is confident.
Yes, very confident. I mean, more confident than last year and 2 years ago, but still worried a little bit because I lost, I would say, the last 4 years championship very close. Last race or last 2 races. So I am confident, but I must be careful again.
The cost of modern Grand Prix racing makes it totally dependent on big money sponsorship. The sport is currently heightening the world profile of cameras, clothing, even chewing tobacco. And at brands, a whole new range of products joins the Formula One shop window via just one new team.
I can't believe it's a girdle. Firm control, but lightweight and comfortable. With Light Natural, the glamour goes on.
It's ready to eat. Just slice and serve.
Real juicy.
A car with a girl's name is the common factor that's brought sausages, smells and underwear to the race circuit. The Beatrice Group is an international marketing powerhouse. They're based in Chicago, and their recent entry into Formula One was the most eagerly awaited and certainly one of the most expensive in recent years. It was the first time that a sponsor had created a completely new Formula One team. They've handpicked the top professionals, and they've got a former world champion for the cockpit of the new Beatrice Lola. Alan Jones, 1980 world champion, has been enticed back into Grand Prix racing, not, he claims, by money, but by a thoroughly professional new team. The whole team has been put together in just 8 months. Inspired by Carl Haas, one of the most successful team owners in America, it also harnesses the talents of Teddy Mayer, a founder of McLaren Racing. Other staff were hand-picked with money, apparently no object. That's the kind of package it needed to entice Alan Jones back. He quit Grand Prix racing in 1981, farming and family becoming his new priorities. Farming has gone, but family is still clearly very important. Boats are another great passion for Jones, who's recently bought property at Surfers Paradise in Australia, but is basing himself in London to drive with a new team. This trip at Hamble last week was a birthday treat for his 7-year-old son, Christian. Jones left the sport disenchanted with the ground effects cars and all the politics that went with them. He returns now with new enthusiasm about the team and its potential.
Well, I'm very happy to say that we have a deal with the Ford Motor Companies to supply the new Cosworth engines, which really was one of the contributing factors that made me come back to racing, because I have the utmost respect for Keith Duckworth. He's never designed a bad engine yet, well, not one that I know about.
Know how to.
Exactly. So I think that, you know, with the resources of Ford and the sort of technology they can feed into Keith Duckworth, and with his experience of building good engines, I think on the engine front we're going to be asking for nothing. We have very experienced personnel in Teddy Mayer and Tyler Alexander and people like that have run successful Formula One teams in the past. Neil Oatley is the designer of the car, which, as you know, has been with Williams for a long time, and I believe is very underrated as an engineer and designer. And I think all those contributing factors put together should make us a very successful team. For sure, the 2 best people I've ever driven for was Carl Haas and Frank Williams. Carl's fantastic to drive for, and I think probably he's got more personality than all the other European team owners put together.
The competition doesn't scare me. I respect it, and I think it will be difficult. And Miracles don't happen. It takes hard work, and hopefully we'll at some point beat her.
The distinctive low-slung car with Alan Jones at the wheel has undergone exhaustive tests at Brands, but its European debut in the Italian Grand Prix was a brief affair, qualifying at the back of the grid and retiring early. But perhaps the most exciting aspect of the new team are the links that it forges with America. The Formula One World Championship has struggled for recognition in the United States. Now, with Carl Haas and Beatrice, America is taking up the challenge. Film star Paul Newman is among the team's backers in the IndyCar Championship in the US. The team are already proven winners. With Mario Andretti at the wheel, the team started this year's championship with a flag-to-flag victory at Long Beach.
Jubilation, of course, in the Andretti pits. Paul Newman, Carl Haas. Somebody looked like they even had a bottle of champagne down here. We saw something flying. This crew is as happy now as when they won the national championship at the end of the fall in Las Vegas. Quite a celebration here as the battle for further places on back continues on the track.
And when Andretti was injured, in stepped Jones for his first single-seater drive in 4 years. And his third place in the race at Elkhart Lake drew this tribute from the sport's most famous fan.
I think it's extraordinary that he could come out of retirement and turn in the kind of performance that he did there at Elkhart. And the interesting thing is he didn't have all that much time in the car to begin with qualifying and practice. And his times just kept getting faster and faster and faster during the race, which was it's not an easy thing to crawl into one of those beasts after you've been in retirement for how long? 4 years? More. And go quick to begin with. In a car that weighs more, has different kind of power, has different kind of throttle response, in a course that he hadn't driven, I think, since 1970. So I was really impressed.
Dad? Daddy?
Christian?
What are you doing?
Standing here talking to you.
Oh. Dad, can you please go in the car and get my attack?
Okay, well, you can go and get it. You know where it is. Over and out. The good teams are still the good teams, and the good teams are drawing the good drivers, and the better organised teams are still up the front. Nothing's really changed in that respect, because the people who can get themselves organised and design the good cars will get the good drivers, and they're the ones enjoying the success. So in that respect, nothing's changed.
One thing that will change is the sight of the famous yellow and black of Renault at the Grand Prix circuits of the world. The team that introduced the turbo is pulling out through commercial pressure and lack of success. These kind of notices are only half joking. For the last few weeks, team members, drivers included, have been scrambling to sort out their futures. All of them angry at the turn of events.
I think it's a disaster, really, because I know we've had a bad season, but I think it's typical short-sightedness of Renault to pull out of Grand Prix racing. It's bad for Formula One, for the spectators, for the media, for everybody.
The other topic raising anger in the sport is South Africa. The teams are due to race at Kyalami on October the 19th, despite the political unrest. The race goes ahead, although many teams are considering withdrawal, and the pit lane opinions are wide-ranging.
My personal view is very simple. I mean, about the human point of view, I don't want to go, because I don't think it's reasonable. I think it's very bad. I mean, about the safety point of view, it's not very safe. We are not sure to have a good safety. And I don't think everybody would go. I mean, should go. And I think we should cancel the race.
If my team is going, I will go, because I'm employed by Ferrari to drive their cars. It's taken me 8 years to get where I am. I'm not going to blow it away because of political reasons.
No such question marks over the Grand Prix of Europe. Instead, a race that sums up the fascination of the sport. Multi-million-dollar optimism, multi-million franc failure. Big issues, a grand European finale, all on a circuit that rewards courage and threatens disaster. Not everyone is impressed, but to the drivers, Brands is a delight.
But the problem is everybody loves going to Brands. It's the best organised Grand Prix. It's a fantastic event. And then there's that little nagging feeling that, well, the circuit isn't quite right, you know. It's always a compromise between safety, which is boring, and between enjoyment, which is dangerous.
One more talking point, a welcome return to the Grand Prix scene for John Watson. Absent for 2 seasons, he replaces the injured Niki Lauda in the second McLaren. He's substantially slower than teammate Prost and feels that he'll have little part to play in the Frenchman's quest for that world title.
Well, I mean, I hope he's not going to lap me before the race finishes.
Now, tomorrow it's the European Motor Racing Grand Prix at Brands Hatch, where Alan Prost can clinch the title. Take a look at the championship, and you'll see that he's well clear, 16 points. All he's got to do tomorrow, really, I say all he's got to do, is finish 2 points better off than Michele Alboreto, and he will clinch the championship, thus becoming the first Frenchman ever to do so. He's been so close in recent years, of course. But let's take a close look now at the heir to motor racing's major honour.
Here is the winner, Alain Prost, in the Marlboro McLaren with the PAG engine for the 2nd year in succession, wins the Monaco Grand Prix.
Alain Prost getting the feel of the number he looks likely to be wearing next season as world champion. But as the dream approaches reality and the world's press and public focus their attention on him, how is he coping with the pressure?
It's difficult, but you know, for the last 3 or 4 years I used to be under pressure, especially at the end of the championship, and for sure I have more experience, and it's an advantage compared to Alboreto, for example.
Practice starts at Brands Hatch for the European Grand Prix, with Prost needing only 2 more points than his only challenger, Michele Alboreto, to clinch the championship. But Prost has been close before, 3 times already, and he must have started to feel that as the most consistently successful driver of his era in terms of winning races, he was imitating the career of the great Sterling Moss, who did everything except win the championship. For Prost, mistakes at the crucial moment have hitherto been his down in Austria in 1983, and he was lucky enough to get away with it.
Alain Prost coming through to win his 4th Grand Prix and very likely to ensure the World Championship.
He wasn't so lucky a fortnight later in Holland.
And then Prost and Piquet come together, and off goes Piquet out of the race, and he will be, of course, mad with rage. And he couldn't possibly avoid bigger than Prost. Prost is out of the Dutch Grand Prix. What an incredible development.
In 1984, his luck at last seemed to be running. Despite that spin at Imola, he still won. And at Monaco, as his car succumbed to the dreadful conditions, the organisers stopped the race early, which was just in time for Alan.
This is going to be the end of the Monaco Grand Prix with Alain Prost. And Prost is stopping, and Senna crosses the line before he gets there. Now that's amazing, but subject to official confirmation, I'm virtually certain that Prost has won with Senna second.
But as the season progressed, things got ragged again, and this unforced error in Austria left him needing 3.5 more points than Niki Lauda for the championship when they reached the showdown in Portugal.
Alain Prost to cross the line and take the checkered flag to win in Portugal, but ironically and very, very sadly from his point of view, provided Niki Lauda appears in the next 15 seconds or so, and there he is. There is the world champion of 1984.
By half a point. But why this consistent near missing for Alan?
I don't know, you know, it's, I think I lost championship because of myself sometimes, but I think because of some cars were a little bit better than mine another time. And last year I lost championship against Niki, which he had exactly the same car, and I have no excuse. I think maybe some bad luck sometimes, but I learned that to be world champion you need some luck. And I think this year was a little bit better about this side.
And so it has been. However, there's been a small but finite change in him. This year, as the pressure has mounted, the aura of relaxed confidence that he normally wears has grown rather than evaporated.
Last year I did not know the car very well, I did not know the team very well, and this year I think I've worked a little bit better with the team itself. I've done a lot of tests, done almost all the tests myself, and I learned a lot about the last 3 years, but our winning or losing a championship, and especially the last 2 or 3 races I went a little bit more secure, and I think I got some points because of that.
And your closest rival, the only person who can catch you now, is Michele Alboreto. Do you feel that he's had a bit of a disadvantage with his car over the second half of the season with his chassis?
Yes, I think especially at brands, for example, my chassis is much better than the Ferrari, and we have a lot of cars like the Lotus or Williams which are much better than the Ferrari, and for sure they could help me a lot.
Have you been having problems with getting the car as quick as you want it to be?
Yeah, first because the McLaren was in front of us. Our car is not so perfect in these last 2 or 3 races. We have some problems in the engines and in the chassis too. But I hope to win one race of the last 3 that we have in front of us. I hope he embraced us.
Yes. Do you think you stand a reasonable chance to catch Prost?
No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't think so.
Candid, realistic words from Alboreto. Niki Lauda's absence through injury allows John Watson to partner Prost this weekend.
McLaren has illustrated over the last 2 years that running 2 cars equally with 2 competitive drivers, they can win races and come second in races. What they are asking me to do this weekend is, if I can come second, fine, but try and pick up points. But the car is basically so good that I think I ought to be able to do that, even though I haven't raced for 2 years. There's one thing I wanted to ask you. Is it true, in fact, that if I don't drive in the remaining Grand Prix, that is, if Niki doesn't drive and I'm not asked, are they going to ask you?
I doubt it very much. They've got more sense than that. Why do you think they're winning? With practice and qualifying finished for the day, the driver still has work to do. This is the technical debrief which follows the day's running. Bear in mind that there is usually more thinking than talking at this solemn event.
Nothing very bad, nothing very good. Time is 12 past?
Yeah, 12-4.
With quali?
But see, he went a bit too... He wasn't sure how to use it, so he went a bit too hard here, and they blistered halfway around there.
Yeah, but the problem is, I have to understand, and if you don't go out...
Don't do that. Nothing.
Nothing.
Is that a reasonable time to do on the first one?
Yes,
you
I think so, because that's what I've done with the first time.
Quietly. How are you feeling?
Child?
How you
I feel okay. Yeah? Good. Yeah. I think that the thing that would really help is just driving more. I mean, really also helps anyway, just because of the diet and exercise. But the thing that would be the biggest help is just being able to drive regularly.
Still, things aren't too bad. The gourmet food produced here is more than adequate for the Gallic palate. So what does Patrick Tombe think a Prost win could do for French motor racing?
We've been waiting a long time for it. I hope that it's going to help us psychologically to have other ones after him. Once that the jink is broken, and maybe it's going to open the door for all the others. We won't be so frustrated about not getting there.
Right, and what do you think of the little fella himself? Do you think he's the right man to be doing it for France?
Listen, you just have to look at the man's record. He's got 21 victories, and it's probably not going to stop here. A lot of lap records, pole positions, and the only thing that he really misses at this point is the World Championship. I think that if he clinches this one, he probably will be in the run for another one in the next 2 or 3 years, and probably is going to go after the overall record of number of victories. I mean, nothing seems to be impossible for this guy.
How about Brands Hatch? Are you happy driving here? Do you enjoy Brands Hatch?
Yes, I enjoy Brands Hatch, especially when it's dry. When it's wet, it's very difficult and very dangerous. But I always find this track very funny to drive. Very difficult for the drivers and for the cars. But I enjoy a lot, and it's a very difficult track. So maybe the most difficult during the season.
So if he ties up the championship here, what of the future?
I think the ambition is to be world champion next year again, and I would like to beat the records of Jackie Stewart, about 27 wins, and I have 21 at the moment, so it's possible until the end of my career.
But if you think winning is easy, remember that the complete racing driver needs a wide range of skills.
You know, when you get to the end of a race and you win, and they bring on the champagne, you know, come on, Carl, let's have the old champagne. God almighty. Listen, why do you always shake it up and ruin it?
Because, you know, first of all, it's a tradition. Secondly, we have plenty of champagne after the race when we win. So we have to waste it one, at least.
Well, would you mind not shaking up that, please?
Yeah, why not?
We haven't
Do you
got
want it?
What? Are you going to shake it up on us?
Yeah, why not?
You can't shake that kind of stuff. It's too good to be shaken.
This car used to be, you know.
Yeah, the car is used to being covered in champagne, but I'm not. Let me make a point. Oh my God. What a weight. An incredible weight.
However, as Alan's expression suggests on his way to Brands Hatch this morning, he still has at least 2 days' work to do before he'll even think of celebrating.
Wogan's more built for lorry racing. Let's go down live now to Brands Hatch. There's the aerial view. Helicopter's the only way to get there, really, sensibly. And go live. There's Alan Prost, watching the action of the other competitors out practicing this morning. The track is dry. Let's now join Murray Walker.
Well, I had dinner with Alain Prost last night, and I can tell you that he is, as James said, completely relaxed, totally confident, and has every reason for being so, particularly as in this morning's unofficial practice. It's called untimed practice. It is timed, but the times don't count for qualification. Alain Prost was fastest. Quite a lot faster than he was in the equivalent practice session yesterday, and we are now 7 minutes into this final hour of qualifying practicing. As you see, Prost is down in 6th position at the present moment because Thierry Boutsen, who is 5th, has improved from 9th position on the grid yesterday. Senna is up there with that incredible lap of 1 minute 8.02, and that is 4 seconds inside the lap record. Now, the lap record, admittedly, is 5 years old, held by Didier Pironi, the French driver who's crashed in practice for the German Grand Prix and is now sadly out of racing. But the lap record is now over 5 miles, or rather the unofficial lap record is now 5 miles an hour faster than the official one. Nelson Piquet went round yesterday on his Pirelli-tired Brabham BMW, 109.2, 1.2 seconds slower than Senna. So Senna is in an incredibly commanding situation at the moment. He can quite literally sit on the pit wall and take things easy and watch the rest of the drivers go round.
Yes, I think he might well do that, Murray, because although historically Brands Hatch has been a track that gets faster and faster as the weekend goes on, as more rubber gets down onto the track, the teams this morning found that while the track was quick early on in practice, they couldn't go any quicker later, so it may be bucking the trend, and if the track isn't as quick as it was yesterday afternoon, for example, then Senna really won't even need to go out, because the others have got a lot of ground to make up, and they won't do it on anything except a very fast track. Prost, of course, we don't expect this is Rosberg just warming up his Williams, and now he's on a quick run. Rosberg, he's pretty spectacular when he's qualifying, as Rosberg. Full boots, third gear, onto the fastest part of the circuit, now down to Hawthorne's. Very, very quick indeed, taking the fourth gear at over 150 miles an hour. See, look at him, he's really trying. He's bouncing it on the curbs a bit, but this is it, because these qualifying laps, he's got 2 laps in which to put up his time before those very extra soft, sticky tyres overheat and go off. And Rosberg is having a very spectacular go at it. Down to Clearways, the last corner. He's had a clear run, which is a difficult thing to find. He's had nobody to overtake. He's got the clock on him. It looks quick. It is, and he's just outside Senna's time. So Rosberg goes into second place.
Yes, considerably quicker than he went yesterday, because Rosberg yesterday, his time was 1 minute 9.27, and as you see, he's now with that meteoric lap at 1 minute 8.2, gone up into second place. Senna still 0.2 of a second quicker, and Piquet a second slower.
Yes, well, that was a very good view of a spectacular lap from Rosberg. That's one of the Ferraris going out on, or is it Alan Jones? That is Alan Jones. And that's Michele Alboreto on a quick lap. Remember, no, he's on new tyres. He's just scrubbing the tyres in. He'll be building up his first lap out. Now he'll be getting them hot, and now he'll be starting his run. Clearways is the last corner. He'll want to be quick through there to get off to a good flying start for his lap. Well, I take
back what I said earlier about the track not being as quick, because Rosberg just went straight out and I think proved me wrong. Now, this is Alboreto starting a quick one. He's on his soft qualifying tires. A little mistake there going into paddock. A little bit twitchy. No, I think he made a mistake going into paddock, and it looks as if he's pulled up to save his tires. Because, of course, he's got to take this lap slowly now, so the tires don't get too hot before he starts his real charge.
Yes, and Michele Alboreto at the present moment, with Rosberg having put in that terrific lap, is in 9th position on the grid. This is the only man who can challenge Alain Prost for the World Championship, and he's got to do very, very well indeed tomorrow. If Prost can finish 2 points ahead of Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari there tomorrow, he will have won the World Championship, because he would be 18 points ahead of Alboreto with only 2 races to go, South Africa and Australia. And even if Alboreto won both of them and Prost didn't finish at all, it would mean that Prost would win on race wins achievements. Well, here is Alboreto, his fastest lap so far, 1 minute 10.8. Now this will be the quick one as he goes across the line now into Paddock Bend at some 140 miles an hour, climbing Halewood Hill. He's got the qualifying tyres, which will last 2 or 3 laps at maximum. Thoroughly warmed up, lost a second, tenth or so to the tail ender there, and he's going slow now.
Yes, he got a back marker in the way. He also didn't get Paddock Bend right, and so what he's done, he's made the early decision to slow it right down, not waste his tyres. He had a back marker in the way, as I say. He didn't make a very good job of Paddock Bend, so he's obviously elected to cruise it round and have another go at the end of this particular lap. It's not working too well for Alboreto at the moment, because his tyres must be feeling the effects of the work they've done already, and I doubt whether they're as perfectly fresh as he would like them.
So there is Ayrton Senna's car, number 12, the Brazilian, with this 1.2 seconds advantage, an incredible advantage over Keke Rosberg, who is currently scheduled to be alongside him on the starting grid tomorrow. And Ayrton Senna's car is sitting there without wheels and tyres on it, because the John Player Special Lotus team people have electric blankets which they put over the tyres and wheels. There in the centre of the picture is Gerard Ducarouge, the team engineer, but now Alboreto is going for a quick one, I think. Here is Alboreto. He's now got a clear track in front of him, except again for one of the arrows which is in his line of sight as he comes up to Druids, but there's no balking there. And Alboreto is now trying to get at least onto the front row of the grid, and in order to do that, he will have to be faster than Keke Rosberg, 1 minute 9.277, and Senna's fastest lap is 138.3 miles an hour.
Yes, this is really where you see Grand Prix drivers trying their very hardest. They're on the absolute limit now for qualifying. So Alboreto's not quite using all the road, but he was certainly giving it everything. And up on the curb there, there's not quite as much grip on the curb. You see the back just kick out of line as the rear tyres let go as he puts it on the curb, but that won't make him back off. Full boot, 1,000 horsepower plus, down to Clearways. Last corner on the lap, wants to get it absolutely clean. He got a clear run anyway, he'll be well happy with that. There's nothing worse than coming on the back mark than that, and not as good as Alboreto would have hoped. No improvement.
There in the peak cap is Ayrton Senna, very relieved. On his left, on the left of your picture, Peter Waugh, the John Player Special Team Lotus top man. There is Ayrton Senna, Steve Hallam, the race engineer in the yellow cap. And Senna is still very, very safe. 1 minute 8.020, a speed of 138.348 miles an hour. On the right of your picture, Elio De Angelis, who is rumoured to be going to Brabham next year. And incidentally, we've had official confirmation today that Patrick Tambay is certainly going to the Beatrice team to partner Alan Jones next year.
Nelson Piquet, let's just have a look, see, he looks as if he's on a quick one. He's certainly trying.
left-hander. Quick squirt. Yes, oh, there's an awful lot of traffic in front. Will he be able to finish this lap without any delay or anybody in the way? Yes, I think he's got a clear run, pretty much. He might have just affected his aggression a bit. But that certainly was a trying lap by Piquet. Now, this is the second outing. Piquet's been out already earlier. He was the first out at the beginning of the session, and that was his yesterday's time that you see there in third place. He failed to improve earlier. He did a 9.6 or something earlier in this session. So, as yet, it looks as if Piquet has not improved. Now, in qualifying, each driver is allowed 2 sets of qualifying tyres only. Now, they last, it varies from circuit to circuit, but here most of them reckon they're getting 2 good laps out of these tyres. So basically, they've got 2 runs of 2 laps each, and that's it for the afternoon. So they don't have to worry about pressure of time too much, unless, of course, something goes wrong with the car. They will only do 4 laps that matter.
Now here is John Watson making a very welcome return to Grand Prix racing. He hasn't driven in one for 2 years, and he's been slowly playing himself in. He was disappointingly slow as far as he was concerned, and the McLaren team in pre-race testing at Donington. But now he's slowly getting back into the groove. He's been doing exactly what his team asked him to do. In practice yesterday, John Watson was well down in 17th place, and now he's looking for an advantage. And whilst John Watson tours round, here is Elio De Angelis, who is in 4th position in the World Championship in his JPS Lotus, 31 points, a long way behind the first 2, Alain Prost and Michele Alboreto, but only 1 point behind his teammate Ayrton Senna, who moved ahead of him in the Belgian Grand Prix. So Elio De Angelis talking to Tim Densham in the glasses there, who is his race engineer. Well, what's it like from a driver's point of view? Let's go round with Patrick Tambay in the Renault as he goes into Paddock Bend at 140 miles an hour. Changes up, goes upward Halewood Hill at sub 160. Taking a slower driver, one of the Ferraris, down out of Druids into the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend at sub 130 miles an hour. Now up into 5th gear for the short squirt down to the left-hander at 30s, 120 miles an hour. Now, down Pilgrim's Drop, this is the fastest part of the circuit. We're coming up to 190 miles an hour with Hawthorne Hill Bend in front of us and 2 drivers that are going to be lapped. 175 round the right-hander. Change down into 4th gear for Westfield, 140 miles an hour. Accelerate away for Dingle-Dell, 175 miles an hour. And it's one of the Ligiers in front of us, so it's either Philippe Streff or Jacques Lafitte. And Philippe Streff has been going incredibly quickly today. Now, out of Stirling's Bend, into Clearways, underneath the bridge, into Clark Curve, and down the Brabham Straight at some 170 miles an hour. And that in the Renault, which regrettably is leaving racing at the end of this season, would have been a lap for Patrick Tambay at some 1 minute 11 seconds, and that's a speed of about 132 miles an hour.
Well, I must say, I think that's a tremendous view, and hooray for modern technology, because we've waited many years to get what I'd call a decent representative view from a racing car by camera. This is a new lightweight camera that's been developed in France, and it's very small, but most importantly, it's the first one they've done that seems to be able to cope with the vibration of a Grand Prix car. Believe me, Grand Prix cars really rattle and shake. There's a lot of vibration in them, and that's always been the technical problem.
Now, while all this has been going on, here is some really good news. Martin Brundle, who had a transmission joint break today, this morning in the Tyrrell Renault, has gone up to 10th position on the grid. He's just gone round in 1 minute 10.7, and only 4 drivers in the top 10 so far have gone faster than they did yesterday. Keke Rosberg, who has moved up to second place. Derek Warwick, who's going extremely well this afternoon, well over a second faster than yesterday, and he's now 5th on the grid. And Derek Warwick, of course, is desperately looking for a drive next year because Renault are stopping racing at the end of this season. Thierry Boutsen has gone up into 6th position. Martin Brundle has gone up into 10th place. And I've just got a change now. Nigel Mansell, as you see, in spite of his strapped-up ribs and the very, very sore chest muscles, has moved in the Williams just behind his teammate, Keke Rosberg, into 3rd position.
Interestingly enough, only 3 cars of the leading runners, well, 3 cars in the top 20, have not yet bothered to go out and try and improve their yesterday's times. They're Ayrton Senna, who has got one in the bank, as it were, but there he is, which is keeping him currently on pole. And Alain Prost has not yet gone out for a run, but there's no particular hurry. And Senna's teammate, Elio De Angelis, has also not posted a time. A tremendous effort by Nigel Mansell to haul his way up to 3rd place on the grid. And that's probably De Angelis. They're cruising around. Yes, that's De Angelis. You see, he's on the new set of tires. You can see because the sticky label's still on them. They soon rub off, though. And whether he will be, I suspect he's going to do another slow lap before he gives it a go. Because they don't look quite scrubbed enough. It's very important for the driver to get his tires just right for when he starts his qualifying. Oh, he's giving it a go. By the look of it, De Angelis has started a quick one. There he goes into Paddock Bend. Road falling away fast. Full boot, all that 1,000 plus. You see, just locked the right front wheel then. That was a very good shot of that. No problem. But he is certainly right on the limit. Paddock Bend. Along what they used to call the bottom straight, but when you've got 1,000 horsepower and you're under your foot, as John Watson said yesterday when somebody asked him about the car on the straight, he said, what straight? And they don't feel much like straights anymore. Through Hawthorne's quick corner, fastest corner on the circuit, very important one. Westfield again, a very difficult corner, the road falls away through Dingle and trouble for De Angelis, but he's been let go. It was one of the Renaults, very politely and correctly let him go. So through the left-handed Sterling's bend and onto the last corner on his lap. Now, in just a moment, we'll see. It doesn't look a very quick run to me as yet. Finish line 10-1. It's a major improvement on his time yesterday, anyway. So De Angelis moves well up the grid into 7th place now.
So Senna still quickest after his run yesterday. We'll be back down there for more practice in a few minutes' time. We might see Alain Prost in action then. Now, as far as the European Grand Prix is concerned tomorrow, remember Alain Prost can clinch that World Championship if he finishes 2 points clear of Michele Alboreto. At the moment, it looks as though he'll be quite a way back on the grid, around about 10th, I think. But Ayrton Senna was the man setting the tracker light down there yesterday, and I think he's been back in business today as well. Let's rejoin James Hunt and Murray Walker.
In this glorious Indian summer, ideal for practicing weather. It's certainly all been happening at Brands, because there is the new pole position man, Nelson Piquet, who's scorched round in 1 minute 7.48, which is nearly 10 miles an hour faster, 10 miles an hour faster than the previous lap record put up by Didier Pironi in 1980, and is still the official one. And now Ayrton Senna, there he is, Ayrton Senna, the man who was in pole position until a few seconds ago, is getting ready to go out, as he so very often does, to quite coolly shatter the previous time that had established pole, as he did yesterday. He went out yesterday and did a time 1.2 seconds faster than Keke Rosberg, who had just moved up into the pole position. And now Nelson Piquet is ahead of Senna with 1 minute 7.482, a speed of 139.45. The heated tyres, a John Player Special Lotus speciality that, are going on to the car. so that the tread compound, which will be Goodyear C compound, that's the softest of all, is hot and almost tacky, ready to grip the road as much as possible when Senna puts that nearly 1,000 horsepower from the Renault engine down on the ground. This young Brazilian, who's just been back for a holiday to Brazil after the Belgian Grand Prix, which he won so brilliantly, of course, and Senna now is refreshed and very, very ambitious. So, what do you think, James?
Well, he's got quite a tall order because he, as it were, is cold. He hasn't been out yet in this session, and Piquet has knocked 0.6 of a second off his time, and that's quite substantial. So the problem always for these qualifying runs is that you have to play yourself in very, very quickly. He can't go very hard round the first lap because he doesn't want to put too much work into his tyres. So there's no doubt that as a driver, like everything else, you need to limber up, not so much your muscles, but more your timing. And on qualifying tyres, which are softer than other things, you have to use judgment as well, because if you go into the corners at the speed you went in on ordinary race tyres, you'll not do a very quick time. So it's a real screw yourself up for the big one special. Now Senna's will do a nice gentle lap, watching in his mirrors, not interfering with people who are on a quick lap. Warm everything up, get everything right, and it's only when he gets out of Stirling's and comes into Clearway's bend will he start to boot it so he can get a good run over the start-finish line and get a good flying kick-off to his big lap. Round Druids, second gear hairpin, slowest corner on the circuit, down the short straight, to bottom bend, along the bottom straight, which, as I said earlier, in these cars is by no means a straight. They're on full power and right on the limit to that side bend, and then out onto the long circuit. There is Nelson Piquet. He's just done his time. I think that Nelson has probably used both his sets of qualifiers, unless he confounded us earlier by using a harder set when he went out right at the beginning of the session and did 9 something, which was very similar to his time yesterday. I would be surprised if he could get that much more out of a different set of the same compounded tyre. So we can only guess as to whether Nelson's got a set of qualifiers left. And here is Ayrton Senna building himself up. And this is very important to Senna. He looks relatively secure in second place on the grid at the moment. And of course it's more pride than anything else. So there's Nelson. That is the monitor screen, and there he is. He's winding it up over the start-finish line to start the first of his attacks on the pole position. Senna, remember, has got 2 sets of qualifiers, so he's got this lap, another possibly on these tyres, and 2 on another set later. Made room for him, let him through, but it's always a little bit off-putting when you've got another car. You don't like to commit yourself too much. So out onto the back straight, they will be reaching 190 miles an hour. Through Hawthorns to Westfield, very difficult corner to get absolutely accurate. And that won't help him again. His lining up will have been affected by that, but it doesn't look like a very clear lap. But actually, I thought Senna looked a little bit tentative through Hawthorns and Westfield then. Not quite as all-out aggressive as he might be, and he might be when he's done a couple more laps. So let's have a look. It's certainly quick. And there it is, and it doesn't beat Piquet, but it puts him clearly into second place.
So, the best that Ayrton Senna could do was not good enough, and Nelson Piquet is still in that pole position with 1 minute 7.482. Nelson Piquet, who in his brilliant career has already had 18 pole positions. It looks as though this will be number 19, because Piquet is in a very commanding position, it would seem, now that Ayrton Senna has shot his tyre bolt, as it were. He's now used both his set of Goodyears, we think, but it's always possible that they will produce a third set of tyres out of the 2 sets that they are allowed. They will make sure that they pick the 4 best ones that have been scrubbed and go out for another run. There's no reason why they can't go for as many runs as they like, provided they don't use more than 2 sets of tyres. So, at the present moment, Nelson Piquet in pole position with Ayrton Senna in second position. Up into third place has gone Nigel Mansell, ahead of Keke Rosberg. So, the 2 Williams are in the top 4 places, third and fourth, with Piquet in pole position and Senna in second position. And that promises a very, very interesting scrap for tomorrow, because Piquet, of course, is on Pirelli tyres, Senna on Goodyear, Mansell on Goodyear, and Rosberg on Goodyear tyres. And now we're looking at Stefan Johansson going out. Senna in pole position then Piquet, then Mansell, then Rosberg, and an incredible 5th position, totally unexpected. The highest he has ever been is the Frenchman Philippe Streff in the Ligier with its Renault engine, which significantly, like Piquet, uses Pirelli tyres. And Alain Prost is only in 6th position, and the difference between Prost's time of 1 minute 9.4 and Senna's of 1 minute 7.1 is 2.3 seconds. Now we know, as Senna gets out of his car there, that the McLaren has got a much smaller differential between qualifying times and race times. But now, as Senna gets out of his car, we've just got this sensational news that he has moved back into pole position. Ayrton Senna is in pole position with 1 minute 7.169, and he has beaten Nelson Piquet's time by 0.3 of a second, and we thought that Piquet's time was incredible. Mansell still third, then Rosberg, Streff and Prost, with Derek Warwick in 8th place.
Yes, as we saw Senna's first lap, that was a 7.7. It did look as if he had a little bit of room for improvement. He wasn't using all the road, as I said. He looked a little bit tentative through both Hawthorns and Westfield, but he's obviously played himself in. We missed the lap, in fact, and he's gone round in 1.7.1, and that is pretty spectacular stuff. Now, as Murray was just saying, Prost is some 2 seconds slower than Senna at the moment, because of this problem with tyres, as the circuit is pretty much deserted. We've only got some 8 or 9 minutes left to go in the session, and most people will have used their tyres by now. So we do get this in qualifying. Once everybody's used their tyres, that is it, of course. But Prost will be, I'm sure, quite happy with 6th place. He knows that in race trim his car will be proportionally much better than it is for qualifying. This is a tradition with McLaren. And, of course, more importantly, Michele Alboreto, who is the only person that Prost is racing here, is in 15th place. And there, that is Watson, that's Watson sitting in the pits in his car, just having a little, looks like they're fiddling with a brake balance or something like that. And
Right, well, while we look at John Watson, Barry Gill is waiting in the pit lane to talk to Ayrton Senna.
What a fantastic lap. Did you really believe after yesterday you could go faster this afternoon?
Well, as I said, I thought the track would be quicker and the car could be, it was already very good, but could be still better. And we managed to have a better car and the track was slightly quicker.
But when Nelson put up that time 0.2 of a second faster, you must have had a little concern.
Well, I was already, used to not go out. I was already committed not to go out anymore. So then I had to, commit myself again to the challenge, and it was a big challenge.
How did you wind yourself up to do that time?
Well, the first run was a good run, was a better run than the second, but I got blocked twice by slow cars. So the second run I knew was going to be quicker than the first, but I went over the limit and I went wide a little bit into place, but even so was good for pole position.
Your 6th pole position of the season, how important is that going to be for tomorrow's race?
I think it's important for the team here today. Is England, is Britain, for the sponsors, everything. But for the race itself, it's better to be in front as possible. But Brands Hatch is not the place that you have to be there, otherwise you are in big trouble.
Thank you, Etten.
Well, potential drama on the circuit now, as Nelson Piquet, who I said earlier I thought might have a set of qualifiers up his sleeve, and here is Nelson on, I suspect, his 2nd set of qualifiers, and he's giving it rock all. So, Nelson over the start-finish line to challenge to win the pole back again, and he's really trying. Nelson over the curve there, the car goes quite light as it falls away to the apex of paddock and then bites hard at the bottom of the hill. Look at that smoke coming off, and he really is giving it everything he's got. Spectacular driving from Nelson Piquet. And that's why, although it's not reflected in the results at the moment, why he's considered not only the best in the world at the moment, but arguably one of the best of all time. Bouncing it onto the curb, using every inch of the road, a little bit loose going into Westfield, but takes the commitment. Boots it through, short squirt, down hard on the brakes for Sterling, he's the left-hander, riding up the curb on the way out, and now he needs to keep it very neat. And it's certainly a quick one. It's about a 10th for the time he's already posted, so Nelson Piquet well, slowing right down. Whether or not he'll get another lap out of these tyres remains to be seen. So the things stay as they are at the moment. Not quite as quick for Nelson, but certainly very entertaining to watch. Thank you, Nelson.
Well, you saw from that caption a very interesting situation. Senna in pole position on Goodyear tyres, Piquet in 2nd position on Pirelli, then Mansell and Rosberg 3rd and 4th on Goodyear, Streff 5th on Pirelli, Prost 6th, and that's about as low as Alain Prost needs to be. There he is, not looking too unhappy, but not looking terribly happy either. And incidentally, when Barry Gill was talking to Ayrton Senna, as usual, this incredibly impassive Brazilian looked as though somebody had given him 50 pence and taken a quid back. You wouldn't think he'd moved up into pole position from the expression on his face. Well, Alain Prost in 6th position, then Mark Surer. That's very significant, because Mark Surer, as we look at Alain Prost talking to Crichton Brown, is in 7th position. Mark Surer, that is. So that is the position then in the closing stages, with the grid positions unlikely to change. Ayrton Senna once more in pole position and in a commanding place to dominate tomorrow's race. Nelson Piquet alongside him on the grid in 2nd place. The top British driver, Nigel Mansell, in 3rd place in spite of his damaged chest muscle. In 4th place, Nigel Mansell's teammate, Keke Rosberg, so both the Williams in the top 4. Then a superb performance, Philippe Streff in 5th place in the Ligier, the highest he has ever been. In 6th place is Alain Prost, the world champion designate. And tomorrow's race really is going to be something to see here at Brands Hatch.